Hey, I'm RaDonna. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be asking the cards, what is October bringing into my life? October is a glorious time of year for us. There's this cycle that's happening, like the death and rebirth cycle. So it's a time of year for reflection, for gratitude, for change and embracing change. So if all of these themes are part of October, I think it's really important to kind of figure out how to navigate it, how we can best move and kind of guide ourselves through all of the things that will be coming up during this time of year. Now, if you think about it, it's also known as the spookier time of year because the veil is thin. Look, you can just look at the dates all around the world. We have Halloween, All Hallows Eve, Dia de los Muertos, we have Samhain, all of these things that in different cultures indicate that we have closer access to the spirit world. And that is powerful. That is a gift for us. So I want to help you with all of these energies considered, help you kind of figure out what October is going to bring and how you can best approach it. As you know, or at least I hope you know by now, I do not predict the future. What I do is empower you to make decisions that help you kind of create the future that you want. Now that means for October, what we're doing is we're seeing what you have access to, seeing what kind of experiences or energy that's in your field, stuff that you can just pick and grab or observe and identify, see how it's teaching you a lesson, things like that. I'm not going to tell you exactly what's going to happen because let's face it, the future changes all of the time, and although we have certain destinies, I'm not going to tell you what that destination is. That's up for you to figure out. I'm just helping you get there. In a moment, I am going to show you 4 piles of cards that you can choose from. And what you're going to do is you're going to pick the pile that you feel most drawn to. And when the time comes, you will head to the timestamp that I have below and get the reading for that pile. Now, I want to do something first before we do that because it's hard to just jump right into a reading personally. That's how I feel. Instead, we need to sit, pause for a second. Pause what you've got going on, pause the TV, pause something, pause this video, whatever it is, and just stop and take a deep breath in and release. Think of what you want for October and continue to take a few deep breaths. Go ahead, pause the video. I'll be here when you get back. How do we feel? Good? Now I'm going to show you 4 piles. And as you continue that breath work, pick the pile that means the most to you. We have pile 1, pile 2, pile 3, and pile 4. All right, now's the time. Go ahead and head to the timestamp below for the pile that you chose. And let's get into your reading about what October is bringing to you. This is the reading for pile 1. And before I show you the visuals, I want to give you an overall message that it might be time to go ahead and embrace the darkness. It seems like you might be more affected by Scorpio season, which also comes up in October, than most people. There's definitely a impact and influence of the cycles of autumn heavily shown here. And I will show you each individual card as well as one card that kind of represents you in the current moment. I'm going to go through them individually first and then talk about them as a whole and as how they kind of work together. So here we go. First, we are represented by the Goddess Tarot deck. This is talking about you and your energy right now. This is who we are and who we need to, the kind of energy we need to tap into basically. And this is represented by the sacrifice card, Kuan Yin. That is a Chinese goddess of compassion and mercy. She is a female archetype of love. And what that tells me is that you need to tap into this quality of yourself and forgive and love yourself for the mistakes, for things that you see as a failure that maybe no one else does. It's like basically asking you to be more kind to yourself. And the reason why I feel like that's a shift, and maybe that's something you have to tap into, is because in the Rider-Waite Tarot deck, the number 12 in the major arcana is the Hanged Man, and that calls on enlightenment through a new perspective. So I feel like your new perspective is compassion for yourself. Feeling like you can shed the layer and shed the skin of being so hard and cruel to yourself when you're going through something. And this is kind of your element of moving through whatever it is that you're experiencing this month. We move into the card of the past, which is represented by the Sun reverse. And I don't always read reversals. A lot of times I feel like the cards mean the same thing, like I can get the message, but I think the reversal is kind of important here because to me it's showing the sun going down. And since we just experienced the autumn equinox, which represents the time when there is less sun in the sky, when there are longer nights, it's showing that you are really influenced by this seasonal change. You recognized it and you observed it, and you might have had a slight panic overcome you when you were like, it's time for the dark season. So this might indicate for me that you are someone who is really affected by seasonal depression, and that when you do not have access to the sun, it kind of it sends you in a panic, right? It affects you tremendously. This is a big deal to know this and recognize this, but since you have that knowledge, it makes me wonder like what lessons have been learned in the past that can help you move forward. We'll talk about all of that in just a second, but here is how we show up in the present. And this is another autumn theme. This is the King of Pentacles. So autumn is a time of harvest. So we're picking all of the fruits of our labor, the things that we did in summer. So to me, it's showing that like right now, you really have a lot to be grateful for. You worked for so much. The King of Pentacles is just so abundant and lush. And it's kind of like a mastery of all of these things. So right now, before you feel like that seasonal depression is coming, take stock of the good things in your life. Like that is a huge key to you moving forward, is acknowledging that when you work towards something, you receive the result, you receive the reward. It's there. It's up to you to identify it, to observe it, to be present with it. And then eventually you will be able to tap back into these resources. But right now, this is your season of plenty, and kind of being in that plenty and appreciating it and showing gratitude for it, that is where you can thrive. And then we move into what you're kind of walking into, and this is what clued me into being affected by Scorpio season, perhaps also helped me figure out the seasonal depression aspect, and that, my friends, is the Nine of Swords. Now you can just look at this card and see the energy that is presented. We have all of these swords kind of stacking up and weighing on someone, and we see this person kind of up at night grieving. I feel that for you, this is showing like what tends to occur when the nights get longer. There's just a lot more that you are processing, and it seems like when you are in the dark with your own thoughts, that's when everything kind of comes in and weighs on you, keeps you up at night. This is indicating like swords. They're hard truths, basically. So this to me is showing all the things that you think about yourself, all of the stuff that you use against yourself to cut yourself open, to cut yourself deep. Like these are things that are trapped in here right now. And when October comes around, when autumn comes around and we move into the dark months, this is how you feel. And I am like, I'm all about the Scorpio energy of kind of looking at this darkness and being able to identify when it's there, and then being able to be present in it and say, hey, this is not me all the time. This is temporary. This is a cycle, right? Perhaps it's one that I can try something new in this time. And that's where our reading will kind of move into, of how these cards all work together. This spread tells me that you are someone who is heavily influenced by the seasons, particularly autumn, right? Because we move out from summer, a time of just expression and boundless joy. You love summer. You are free in summer. You love the light. And then you are also super present and aware when you are when the feelings of gratitude come up, the harvest. You are all about it. Like you love this time of year. I feel like there are parts of you that are just like, yeah, like I'm thankful for everything. And then we also have this seasonal depression kind of feeling coming up, that you are not a fan of the darkness, the dark days, the dark atmosphere, and then the dark thoughts that come along with it. Because you are a person who is really impacted by the energy around you, what is your key out of this? Jeez, words. Is the compassion, the forgiveness of self, the ability to have mercy. And I feel like you're so good at doing that for others. You're so good at the self-sacrifice thing, right? That yes, you're suffering, but there are other people who are suffering more. So I'm just like not going to pay attention to my thing, and I'm going to give. And that's okay sometimes, right? I think in some ways an opportunity will come up that will help you give, but also make you feel energized, instead of this feeling right now where like when you give, you feel like you're being taken advantage of, which isn't helpful for you. What's helpful for you about this card is the quality of compassion, forgiveness, and a new perspective. So instead of allowing yourself to go through these cycles as you normally do, just kind of going with the flow and saying, oh, that's just how it is, that's just what it's gonna be, I don't like this time of year, I don't like the darkness. Instead, we show ourselves forgiveness and we show ourselves compassion to help us move through it. Say, I forgive myself for feeling bad today. I feel myself for feeling, I'm okay with feeling bad today. And I don't like the word bad. Like, you come up with your own emotion or feeling. But what you're doing by forgiving yourself is acknowledging that it's temporary. You are acknowledging that it's okay, like you're giving yourself permission, and you're kind of freeing yourself from this weight of feeling shame or guilt because that's how you feel right now, even though you know you have a lot to be grateful for. It's cyclical. And when a card comes up in the past, it's not just like, oh, hey, here's this thing. Remember summer and it was awesome? It's not saying that. What it's saying is like, you always have access to this light. You always have access to this feeling because it is within you. Just because summer is over doesn't mean you don't have this light radiating from you. You always have power to be this, to become this. This is going to happen. It happens to a lot of us. A lot of us suffer in the darkness. We don't like the things that come up in the dark. But if you use light to kind of guide yourself through, you'll be able to discover parts of yourself that you haven't noticed before. And that comes with that compassion, that like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I feel dark today, but I'm going to try to like move through it, Scorpio style. I'm also feeling like there is an absolute need of expressing yourself when you're in this place. Just telling the people that you're around, like, hey, I'm not feeling it today. I'm not feeling good. I'm having these feelings of doubt and unworthiness. I'm having this feeling of depression right now. Expressing yourself is also a key out. I'm sure you've learned in the past that when you express yourself, you feel like you have more power, you feel more confident, you feel more sure. It doesn't change that you feel this way, right? Like, we're not trying to change this feeling, we're trying to navigate through it. And the way that you do that is you bring in that light and you shine it on yourself. And then you allow yourself to be seen by others. That is so important for your healing. And you do that through your compassion for yourself. Show compassion. You'll be able to get through anything. Everything is cyclical. You'll be able to get out of this. So just know, when we're looking at October and you're thinking, I know you're already thinking this. This is validating something that you are already processing, right? So when we're looking at October, it's important to know it doesn't have to be the same that it always has been. It's important that you've noticed that this is your cycle, so you can kind of see it and observe it and know that it's not you, that it's not just like this thing that becomes you and you have no choice in the matter. Being able to observe it is the first step. So I'm really proud that you have been able to acknowledge this pattern, this cycle. But there are also keys to kind of breaking the cycle, which is a common theme of autumn and October. It's the death and rebirth cycle, right? So if you show yourself compassion, if you allow your expression and your acknowledgement of what you're going through to help you navigate through the darkness, it's not going to feel as heavy as it normally does. Doesn't mean this might still be a struggle for you, but it doesn't have to be the same story where you got into this deep, dark place and there were no options. You have options. You know what the options are now. You have learned, you have evolved. Now it's time to apply those things that you've learned. I have complete faith that you can do this. These cards don't come up unless you are ready to face them. And I have every bit of confidence that in October, yes, it's going to bring this thing, but it's also bringing out the absolute best of you and your strength and your ability to cope and process things. I hope this was helpful for you. If you want to go a little bit further about the specific things that are going to come up, feel free to book a reading below. As always, I am on Instagram. That is where I live. So if you want more regular updates, feel free to come over and say hi. And if anything, I believe in you. You've got this light that you don't even know, I don't even think you're aware of yet, but the second you kind of tap into it and try to use it, I think you're going to be surprised with yourself. Until next time, thank you so much. Bye. This is the reading for pile 2. And before we get into it, I want to share an overview, just that I think this has a lot to do with work or creative hobbies, something that you've been working toward. There's a theme of activity here. And you kind of coming into your flow and coming into your strength and your skills, kind of like owning it. It just seems like you are learning how to own your shit. And that's really exciting. What I'm gonna do is go through each individual card first to kind of show you the symbolism, to show you what I'm looking at, and then I will do a reading that covers the cards all together, how they kind of work together to help understand what October is bringing to you and how you can navigate through that. You ready? First, we start with a card from the Goddess Tarot deck, which is one of my favorite decks. And here we have the Goddess of Contemplation, Zhang Go. And she is a goddess that resides on the moon. She's kind of stuck there, actually. She's marooned on the moon. And as we know, with the symbols of the moon, there are qualities of cycles, qualities of intuition, and feminine abilities and strengths. And again, you don't have to be female to have feminine strengths. Just saying, putting that out there. But this is saying to tap into those feminine strengths, those feminine qualities, those cycles. With the contemplation aspect, it's saying that come October, you as a person, like you have the ability to tap into your intuition in a way that you have not been able to, or you've just have clues to do. So this is also saying to me that you paying attention to the moon cycles is going to be very important, because whatever is going on in the full moon, but especially what is going on in that new moon in Scorpio that's coming up in October, you are going to have a certain ability that time of month to push forward and kind of trust yourself in just the most magnificent way. But here's the thing about this card. It is not saying to listen to the advice of others right now, or trust like their feedback. Like, it's important and that's cool, but this is not relying on logic or outside influences. This is about you being marooned on your own island trying to come to some sort of understanding about what you need. Right now, this is about trusting yourself, trusting what you know is to be true and right. And when you do that, you have power to create something for yourself, to do something that you've always wanted to do. I think you probably already have an idea of what this could be. And since we know that this is about work, about the things that you produce and generate and share with the world, it's so important that you feel connected to it, that you feel strongly about it, and that you feel certain to some degree of what it is you are accomplishing. I am so excited that you have access to this. This is also like, but it just, I have no words. I'm so excited for you. But just know it's going to require some alone time. If you're not comfortable with that, I really recommend you get comfortable, even if it's for just a couple minutes a day. If you have kids or you have a lot of responsibilities, use whatever time you do have alone to kind of tap into this. Even if it's when you're like driving and you're at a stoplight, or the time when you're in the bathroom stall by yourself. Like, there's just whatever you can do to kind of make the most out of your alone time, that is going to be helpful for you. But if you have the ability to create a full-on ritual where you can meditate or listen to music while you're cooking dinner, doing something that creates a space for yourself to just be, that's going to be so important for you in this work and in this progress. So let's get into the other cards, all right? Again, one by one. Okay, so this card represents the past, and I feel like as it relates to some work that you've done, the Five of Pentacles reverse is kind of indicating that you have had jobs before that have felt like you were just left in the cold, like there's no hope, no excitement. We'll look at this card this way so you can actually see like the body language and some of the symbols that are here. First, you can kind of see that they are not in a good way. Like maybe life has been a little unfair. That they've been dealt a hand that's difficult. In some ways, I feel like this card is about hope, because you get the idea that they are about to, like, if they just keep going, they're going to enter into a place of warmth and be cared for. Since this card came up reversed for you, I think that's important here, because to me it felt like whatever project you were working on in the past, maybe even in the recent past, just had you feeling so alone and in the cold, like not supported in the way that you want to be supported. And since this is about your creative skills, your ability to give and generate, and like your energetic work, like you're putting work into something that's very important to you, to have your heart connected to it. And when you felt like there wasn't any return, both in support of your community, but also maybe financially, it made you just feel like this wasn't for you, and I feel like there was some sort of stop, some sort of halt, some sort of just kind of like, okay, I need to reevaluate this situation. And I think it's really important that you did that. I'll just say that. So let's get into the next card that represents your present moment. And that, my friends, is the Six of Wands, which is where the whole work and thing, like something you're moving forward on, is coming into play. I think in October, like, you have access to really like make some moves for yourself, some moves that feel really good as it relates to the things you create. The wands, if you think about what a wand does, it makes magic. It makes something. You think of it, you use your wand, and it creates it, whatever it is that you're thinking of. So you have the ability to make these moves. And if you can see this card, it kind of feels like there is the support of the community. There is the support of this march moving forward. So to me, it's like when you find that and you're like, wait, this feels really good. This feels like something that I can succeed in. That's where you trusting yourself starts to come into play, because there is this movement forward. So to me, this says opportunity. This says pay attention to how you feel in a community. It says, like, well, find your people somehow. I think you just will. But also just like be okay with tapping into your magic. Like whatever skill or ability you have, you're going to be able to use it finally. And all of the things that you've been building up until this point and working on, it's like you just hit this stride. That's what you have access to in October. And then how you kind of make the most of it. What I'm most excited about is this Page of Pentacles card, which is like, you're now a new student of what you can create. It's like you have the world of possibilities in your hand, because now you feel connected to your work. You feel like the world is just open to you now. The page is like a student. So you're able to explore your creativity and explore your passions, explore your energy in a way that you could not before. This card is so bright and vibrant, and this character is like larger than life. Like, he's just like, let's do this thing. What is this gift that I have, and how did I not excuse me, how did I not see it before? That is so beautiful, because it just shows, like, when you start having faith and you start putting energy into yourself and what you really want, you're going to be able to start seeing yourself in a new way. And oh my gosh, that feels good. So how do these cards all work together, right? How are these, like, how can you kind of put this energy together and kind of map out something for yourself? Let's do that. All together, like, I just kind of want you to see what I'm seeing here in this progression. Because you go from this card, right, this Pentacles card, to this Pentacles card, which is so drastically different. Like, this is dark and depleted, and like you're moving backwards. Like, there's no hope for me here. There's not a way for me to grow and thrive and be supported or celebrated here. My gifts are not being used here. It's so, like, it's so dark and bleak and cold. And then you go, like, we'll talk about this in a second, but like just looking at where you're moving toward, this is bright and warm and optimistic. Like, just the contrast in itself, like this body language, I think you can understand this reading, that you're moving from a place of not feeling energized by your work to a place where you feel hopeful, and like you're getting a chance to do something that you never thought was possible. But it requires, right, this movement. You have to get from here to there, right? You see that? Oh, that's why I love the cards. And in order to do that, in order to get this piece right here, this middle spot, that is where this card comes in handy. That's where it's saying trust your intuition. Spend some time alone so you can understand the type of community that you want to be in, the type of place you want to be in, the type of work that's important to you. And I want to be very clear, that doesn't mean like quit your job and forget everything and just whatever. That's not exactly what that means. Though if that works for you, cool. Do whatever you know to be true to yourself. I don't know what that is. Only you know what that is. It could be staying in the job that pays your bills, but doing something that is so creatively inspiring and stimulating that it kind of leads you to a place of feeling like you're more hopeful, like you have more chances to contribute to the world. But whatever you do, you have to trust your own needs. Like, you know what you need, you know what's been missing, right? But it takes some time to kind of get alone with your own thoughts and not being so influenced by everything that's around us, to get into a place where you can kind of identify those needs. Identify the ways that you want to contribute to the world. If you haven't done this in a while, it's just a good time to check in for you. I think it has been a while. And this is saying, like, it's your time. Listen to your own ability to, like, listen to your own intuition and trust, like, your own cycles. I think you know what they are. I think you know, like, if you're unsatisfied, I think you know how to make things more satisfying, and that is kind of this process. But also pay attention to the moon cycles this month. I feel like that is such a huge message for you. If you aren't usually into what the moon is doing and you don't know anything about it, just go ahead and look it up. Like, the internet exists. Look up the moons for October, because I think they're going to be meaningful for you. There's going to be some sort of new energy that's available to you, and you having these moments of reflection where you come into yourself kind of allows you this transition, which is exactly what autumn and October is about. It's about the transition. It's about the bounty. It's about coming into yourself by using the darkness to fuel you to move forward into the light, right? So October is about you working through this process and trusting your intuition to kind of guide you through it. That is, I think, so this is going to be huge for you. I think you feeling more clear about what you want to accomplish and contribute to the world is, I think you've been craving it, and this is your time. October brings you this energy, this opportunity to be like, hey, start doing it. You know what it is. If you don't, it's because you need to sit and process it. But once you just sit with yourself for a second, I think you're gonna know what you need. You are. If this reading was meaningful for you, please let me know. If you have other questions, come visit me on Instagram. You can click the links below. I'm always available for virtual readings, so book a session. And if you do want to know more about the energy of October, like the full moon, new moon aspect, if you want something more than what the internet is sharing with you, I have already compiled an energy forecast for October. The energy forecasts are $11 a month, so you would get one every single month. That would help you embrace this moon energy, the planetary energy, all the stuff that's going around. I can help guide you through that. That link is also below. You have to to message me directly, otherwise you can't just click and sign up, okay? I like the connection. I like meeting you, all right? So if you want an energy forecast and sign up for that, hit me up, all right? Thank you so much. I cannot wait to see the result of what October brings to you. I'll see you next time. Bye. This is the reading for pile number 3. And what I want to tell you right now, just looking at these cards, which I'm going to show you in just a second, is that This month is about you coming back to yourself. I feel like you have been giving so much of yourself to other things, other entities, whether it's a relationship or your work, your family. Like, there have just been a lot of things that have been calling for your attention. That this is your month to kind of bring some of that energy back into your own self. That doesn't mean you have to stop caring about people, but it really means you have to start caring for yourself also. What I'm going to do is go through each card individually so you can kind of see the symbolism, understand like what it is that I'm drawing my inspiration and my reading and message from. And then I will talk about the reading all together so you can understand the story that it's telling. All right, let's do this. So the first card is the card that represents you and your energy, what you have access to in the month of October. And I chose this card from the Goddess Tarot deck. The card that represents you is Venus, the goddess of love. You may not know this, but the Italian city of Venice is named in honor of Venus. Every year they have a celebration to ask her for love and prosperity for their city, to keep their city safe. Venus is so crucial for you right now. This Italian goddess is basically saying and calling for you to celebrate yourself, to allow yourself the kind of love and adoration that you need. This is going to require it's going to require you to look at yourself differently, to care for yourself differently, to start doing things that make you feel the most I want to say beautiful. That's just such a trite word, but something that just makes you feel like you. For me, that would mean doing my whole beauty ritual. That's a bath. I would probably do my feet, do a pedicure, maybe some sort of facial and face scrub, do it, blowout, getting a blowout or doing a blowout to myself. These are things that make me feel great, right? These are things that I can do at home. These are things that I enjoy doing. And I know when I get too far away from those things, I really get far away from the love that I have for myself. And it might be something that okay, that's surface level, but it isn't. This goes deep because me putting that energy into myself in ways that I enjoy shows myself love. And it doesn't require it from all these other places if I'm giving myself the kind of affection and attention that I need. So whatever attention you need is what you need to give yourself. Even if for you that means going to the gym and doing something different there, or something that you've always wanted to try. Go play basketball. Go on a trip. I don't know. You know what it is. Paint something. Whatever it is that is you getting into your zone and showing yourself that kind of love and attention, that is what Venus is calling you to do. Celebrate yourself. Honor yourself. And that kind of love and honor will manifest in other ways. So that is your energy for October and what we're calling in here, okay? So let's go into the reading itself, which again, I'm showing individual cards, kind of show us what the process is. The process shows that you're coming from this place of hard work. And that's what kind of shows me that you were giving a lot of energy to something. This is literally you it's like you're manufacturing your energy at this point. You're just kind of going through the motions. You're like, they need this, I gotta do this, gotta do that other thing. You've just been spending so much time and energy on other people's projects that you haven't been able to really spend a lot of that energy on yourself. And it's not that this isn't fulfilling. This is, I think for you at least, it seems fulfilling. There might be parts of it that aren't, which we'll get to in a second, but overall, you like giving to other people, but I think you know that it's gotten into some sort of monotonous rhythm that isn't allowing you to feel fully expressed, fully appreciated, fully loved. And that's only something that you can do for yourself, as we noted before. So this is just showing where you're coming from, what kind of experiences you've been through recently. And if you're tired, you're not feeling inspired, this is probably why. All right. So how do we what is then the thing that helps us get out of that? And that is our Queen of Swords. This is our boundary bitch, our boundary woman here. This is you taking the reins of how much energy you are willing to invest in other people, other people's projects, other people's needs. There are probably a few that you could dial it back on that have been asking for more than what they actually need and more than what you're capable of giving, more than what you're interested in giving. And the Queen of Swords is basically saying okay, here's the boundary. You can come all the way up to this boundary, which means you can still be giving, right? You can still have, they can still have access to you. But you have to have the boundary and being able to say, but not that much. I already gave you 8 hours of my day. You don't need 12. You're not emailing me past 5 o'clock. These are okay things that our society has deemed unacceptable because we are just supposed to be on all the time. I would say this card represents the actual things that you need to do in your daily routine that allows the space for yourself to show yourself attention and just give yourself a little bit of energy. How that could look. Setting a do not disturb, putting your phone in airplane mode, something like that at a certain point at night. Putting a footer on your phone that you only check email, or on your email that you only check emails 3 times a day. Saying that when you are off at 5, you are off at 5, and you will show up back in the morning and you will be energized, but I am off at 5. These are the type of things that you can do to help you maintain your own energy and kind of give space back into yourself. And I understand if you have children or responsibilities, and that's why I'm saying you don't have to set these hard boundaries for everything, just some things. And those little tweaks, those little things that you do for yourself is going to open up so much more room for you to show up for the other people that you really want to be showing up for. If you're in a relationship, this could just mean I need me time, maybe you could help me out with this situation here, or we need a specific date night. There is nothing wrong with planning date nights, but this is boundaries, this is scheduling, this is the intellectual work that goes into creating the type of environment and energy you want, right? I think you can do this. You already know what is draining you and depleting you. This is just kind of helping you create the space for yourself to set a boundary. You know what they are. And I love the kind of progression that we're making here, because this shows us, well, I'll show it this way because I don't feel like the reversal is totally, I don't think the reversal means anything different than what this is showing up. And this is the 4 of Cups. And you can kind of see that, to me, what this is saying is you might be given the illusion but this is emotionally fulfilling, this is good for you, and you might be kind of playing with the idea of going back on decisions you already made. And this is basically saying to call in on your strength. This month is to call in on your power of the decisions you already made, to not take everything that comes your way, to not accept everything because someone else says it's good for you, because someone else says it's going to help you. This is you understanding your own fulfillment, and when you've already had enough, your cups are already full, your schedule is already full, you don't have to keep taking things. You can just be oh, thanks, I appreciate that. Next time. It's hard. I know. It seems easy. It's not. That's why this card is coming up, because that is your power that it's like a superpower that you start to gain this month in practice and in devotion and conviction. You committing to this allows you to be stronger when people are trying to present you with opportunities that you don't actually want. they're trying to sell you. They're trying to, but you're like, nah, I'm good. I'm fulfilled because I already got these things going on. Now let's look at how all of these cards work together. So the first thing to note is that there are 3 different suits represented here. So that is telling us already that this is a complex issue, that there are several areas of your life that probably need a little bit of tweaking, that you're probably putting a lot of energy. It's not just like there's this one thing that we need to focus on, and that once we focus on, it'll be better. I think you need to apply this knowledge, this Queen of Swords knowledge, to several areas of your life. And it's small tweaks. It's not grand gestures. It's not like, F you, I don't want to ever see you again, unless like you need to do that. That's like totally you. But I feel like these are smaller tweaks. These are like, you cannot call me past 9 p.m. You, like, I don't go out past 9 p.m. I don't have coffee past 3 p.m., which is like, that's actually a thing that I do. I don't have coffee past 3 p.m. because I know I'll be up. That's a boundary that I've set for myself that allows me to get the sleep that I need so I can wake up feeling refreshed, right? Small tweaks create room for more things later, more of what you want later. And I like my sleep, so having coffee no later than 3 o'clock helps me get that. Those are the kind of tweaks that you need. And when you're doing that, you're kind of tapping into this love, like this self-love that you absolutely need. And when you start creating more boundaries, you'll start noticing you have more room to show love and attention to yourself, that you have time for that quick like nail polish, or you have time to go get that massage, you have time to go to a museum, you have time to take your kids to the park or walk your dog or watch the sunrise or do all of these things that you didn't think you had time for before because you were spending so much of your energy and so much of your day on other people's wants and needs. When you start showing yourself this kind of love, it gets easier to make these decisions for yourself. And that is what is necessary here. You're moving from this place of working so much on other people's stuff that you're not focused on you right now. And that's okay. We all get into those phases. But October is about you being like, okay, let me reflect on this. Let me see what I've got going on. And, you know, I'm going to set boundaries for myself. That's your work this month. And you'll start being presented with opportunities to maintain those boundaries, to adapt those boundaries if you need to. Don't recommend doing that. But that's what you're gonna kind of feel and see happening this month. And it's up to you to have this like backbone, this access to your energy. Like, it's up to you to use that as your way of making these decisions about what you give your energy to. So perhaps coming up with some sort of mantra that helps you with these decisions, like, here's my mantra, and that mantra is, I'm going to devote time for myself in the morning. And if there is something that keeps you from doing that, that's how you kind of know what your boundary is, and that's how you know to say yes or no to a new opportunity, because you won't be able to do this thing that you know you really need to do. With that in mind, like as I just said, like, boundaries can adapt and change, but I feel like right now your practice is in creating the boundaries that you know you can keep, and then maintaining them. That is your practice this month, and do that through a lens of loving yourself, not looking at it as if you're depleting or removing access from others to you. It's more like, I'm showing myself this. I need this, and you'll be better for the people who keep approaching you, the people you want around, and the people you want to love and support in return. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope October brings you lots of love. If you have any questions, come over to Instagram at RaDonna Read. You can always book another session so we could talk about specific things, specific boundaries. And of course, please subscribe if you haven't already. I would so appreciate that. I do these regularly, so if you want to connect more often, hit that subscribe button. I hope to see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye. This is your reading for pile number 4. And I'll be honest with you, at first, I had to take a second with this because I wasn't sure how these pieces fit together. But I think you will find the more I talk about each card, you're going to kind of see a picture emerging. Like there is a clear message here. I just think it's different for every single person that's going to be drawn to card or to pile number 4. Because there isn't one clear thing. Like it's not saying this is about relationships or work, about family. Like there isn't one clear thing. It's more about the process and the energy around your specific situation. So I'm not going to say October is bringing you this, and this as it relates to a certain situation in your life, but I think you will know the situation when the time comes of how to apply this knowledge, because the knowledge is what's important here. The process is important. The learning here is what is important, okay? So let's get into this. I'm going to go through each card individually so you can see the symbolism, so you can like understand like where my message is coming from, and then I'll talk about the reading as a whole. The first card we have represents you in this current moment, this energy that you have access to this month, the energy that you will need to call upon to help you make this decision. And I think it's so fitting that you received the Strength card, the Oya card, the Nigerian goddess of the Niger River. She controls the winds, the rains, the floods. When she's happy, the river feeds the families. When she's unhappy, there are hurricane type weather. She is powerful, but one of the things that she has most control over is the wind. So many people pray to her, many women specifically, asking for the right words to say. So when we are thinking about the energy to bring in, it's tapping into this inner strength and asking for peace, for patience, and for the power to actually convey what we're trying to communicate. So we're looking for the right way to navigate the situation. That's not just boom, here we go. It's let me tap into knowing the impact of my words and knowing the impact of what I'm trying to communicate. So you're asking her for her strength and her power, essentially, to say the right thing, to know your own power. So I'm really excited that this comes up for you, because you kind of need that strength. You can't just like go around like bulldozing everyone, okay? I know like that seems like the thing that we need to do. You're probably in a situation that just feels like you need to like assert yourself very powerfully, and you can do that without tearing roofs off of buildings, without breaking people down into pieces. You can have your strength and stand in your power while also understanding the influence of your words. That's what she's going to help you with. That's the energy to access. It shows that perhaps in the past there was some reservations about making a decision. Like you were feeling guarded and protected, perhaps feeling like there were people that were out to get you. There was knowledge that you learned that you didn't want to come near you. You were kind of like ignoring. This is kind of about, in this situation, this is like you feeling at a distance to the truth. It feels like it was just lingering over you, and you were coating yourself in gold and saying, nope, I'm good, so that doesn't bother me, this doesn't affect me, it's so far away, how could this penetrate my beautiful skin? How could it come near me, come close? This requires a lot of energy. And eventually we have to face these. We can't stay paused and in this place forever. We can't avoid this forever. This knowledge and truth is there. And I think this is like the origin of the situation that you're in, whether it is your work, whether it's your relationship, your creative life, your family life. There are just like so many things that this could be, but what the origin is a moment of truth that you have been avoiding and acknowledging and pretending like it doesn't exist, right? So with that, knowing that that is the situation, you kind of move into this place of feeling, like once you start acknowledging it, you move into this place of give and take. Like there is a power imbalance here where you feel like you're giving a lot and not receiving a lot in return. Like you're not getting as much as you're giving. That is what is coming up here. There's also, like, you could be overly giving to be overcompensating for the loss or the understanding that you came to. You're just focusing your energy on other things, so you're just like not paying attention to the real stuff. You could also be accepting a lot of gifts, like feeling like you're depleted of energy. So any small gesture, any small movement forward, you're like, yes, please give that to me, Master. I love that. No, I don't like that for you. This is an imbalance of power. You can kind of see that with the scales. You kind of see that with one person standing, seeming like they're doing the right thing, seeming like they're helping someone, but they're like their stance is so if whether that's you or the other person, I don't really know. I don't know. But this is not an okay situation, because even though it seems like there's an act of generosity, there's also an underlying message of I'm better than you, or like I have more than you, or I've figured more out. And also the message of you are nothing. You need me. So whatever this situation is, you have to figure out where you stand in this imbalance of power. Like where you're at. Are you the person kind of begging for things? Are you just like groveling at someone's feet? Are you accepting any small token and using that as allowing this energy, this thing to have power over you? Thinking that they're like, this is a great experience because I got this little thing. Are you this person just giving and giving and giving and not getting anything in return? That can be a message here. Or are you kind of like acting superior because of the knowledge that you've gained? I don't know. You only know this. This is a complex card. This isn't just a card about like generosity as it appears up front. No, there is an imbalance of power that needs to be identified here, and you figuring out your place and where you are in that spectrum is so critical for you this month. Spend energy there. Try to figure this out because you know it's there. You haven't identified it fully because you haven't processed that truth. I know it feels a little that just feels scary to actually like have a realistic view of what's going on. But what I will tell you, once you kind of acknowledge that, like that situation and where you're at with it, there's a chance for you to complete a cycle. And that gives you power because it gives you options. It's saying you don't have to stay this way. You don't have to live like this, whatever it is. Like, and I don't even get the sense that your life is like bad. There's nothing like inherently like terrible about your life and your situation, but there is something. And this something is weighing on you more than you think because you have to keep exerting energy while you're avoiding it. And this is just saying once you avoid the truth, there's more options than you think there are. You just think that if you face this truth, if you identify where you're at, it's gonna look like this. And I'm assuming you're afraid of whatever that looks like because otherwise you would face this truth. This is kind of saying that anything is possible. That perhaps if you do tap into this truth, if you truly try to understand the dynamic, try to understand the energies that are at play here, that you can start creating the kind of world and life that you want for yourself. The 10s are a completion. In the tarot, they represent a cycle completing, and that is why I'm saying like this is actually big for you. You have a chance in October to kind of work with the energy that's around you, work with what's going on, and create something for yourself that you may not have thought was possible. But this is saying this month, and probably beyond this month, you have access to creating something for yourself. And it's just kind of up to you to navigate it. But you have to like trust what you're learning. You kind of see our guardians, our angels, our muses, with all of their knowledge. Yeah, you got to trust your knowledge, right? So that brings us to the whole reading overall. So let me get all my cards. I'll be right back. Okay, so all together you can kind of see the story that is unfolding. And again, I honestly do not know what this is about, because I think if I talk about something specific, it's going to alienate the rest of the group that was drawn to pile 4. So I don't think this is about something specific, like one aspect of your life. This is about like ignoring a truth. There is some sort of truth that you have discovered that you are avoiding, and it's almost like you're trying to protect yourself. That's you trying to be like, I'm protected. Like if I just don't face it, it'll just go away. But you're exerting so much energy into this, because the thing is like once you see something, you cannot unsee it. Once you know the truth, you can't unknow it. This is about your knowledge, what you know. So how do we use what we know to help us move forward? It's because you're probably worried about this dynamic here, this power struggle, this conflict. You're worried about how that person will view you. You're worried about how you will view them. And again, this could be relationship. I mean, it could be relationships. It could be your job. Like, there's a lot of things that this could be. Power dynamics show up in so many things, but this is like, you know the truth about the dynamic. It's just like kind of a matter of figuring out where you fall in that, how it affects your life, how it makes you feel. You have to kind of embrace those things now, right? Like once we know and we're facing it, we identify it, we learn from it, we try to actually reflect on how it's affecting our lives. There's also just like that sense of communication. There's like an exchange here. So yeah, there's something to face here. There's something to acknowledge. There is a hard conversation that needs to be had. Granted, I will give you that. But you're spending so much energy avoiding this conversation, avoiding this situation, that you're not opening yourself up to what could be possible after the hard thing. After like you do this, once you stop protecting yourself, you're actually opening yourself up to a lot more. Like, I don't think that this is going to be as terrifying and as terrible as you are imagining it, because like anything is an option for you. That's the progression here. It's like, okay, here's the truth. I'm facing the truth. I am acknowledging and having the difficult conversation. I am identifying myself right now, calling myself and the others out. And I'm opening myself up to where I can go, what cycle I can complete, and what letting go of this kind of baggage, letting go of this energy, what that could lead me toward. This is big for the month of October. October is all about change. It's all about growth and evolving. It's all about the things that occur in the dark behind the scenes that translate into the growth on the surface. And you do that by tapping into your strength, by tapping into knowing your power, and knowing that for the good and for the bad. Knowing that like you have the strength to influence how other people operate in this world, and not saying that when you speak your truth that it won't change your situation or your circumstances. It's just knowing how to say things without being cruel, without beating your own self up, having the strength to just speak the truth, to know that you can influence and move and create the kind of world that you want. You get to decide if there's abundance or there's a drought. You get to decide like if you're in a safe, secure home or the roof is torn off. Like, this is you having the strength to get through whatever it is that you're going through, to create the kind of life and experiences that you want. And again, like I don't think this is going to like tear your world apart. I don't feel like that. I just feel like this is giving you the strength to face the truth that you know that you've been avoiding, and the strength to talk about it, to communicate. Perhaps that's even to a therapist. I don't know. You know what this is. I really don't. I'll be honest with you, because this is about the journey. It's about the lesson that you've learned, that once you know the truth, you need to communicate the truth, even if it's difficult. And that helps you navigate your life in a better and more informed way. And you do that using your own internal strength and your ability to communicate effectively. If that, like, please let me know how that shows up in your life, because I feel like this is going to be different for everyone who is drawn to this reading. Because it can apply to so many areas. There's not one that's glaring to me. That's kind of also what I think is kind of funny about the Wheel of Fortune card. It's like, to me, it's like my Joker card. It's like when it comes up, I'm like, okay, thanks. Anything's possible. I get it. Thank you. But no, really, thank you for showing up, because we need that card. We need to know that anything is possible. So again, let me know how this shows up for you. If you have any more questions or you want to connect more, go to my Instagram. That's at RaDonnaRead. If you would like to book a reading so we can talk about this specific issue, the situation that's coming up, of course, again, link down below. And if anything, just subscribe. I would love, love, love to stay connected with you. I can't wait to see you next time. Have a great October. Thanks so much.